The moment Lady Rosalind's lips touched mine beneath the wisteria arbor, I knew we crossed a line we could never uncross. For 6 months I'd been her paid companion, her confidant, the woman hired to keep her company while her diplomat husband traveled the world. I was supposed to read to her, walk with her, make polite conversation. I wasn't supposed to fall so desperately in love with her that I could barely breathe when she entered a room. And I certainly was unsupposed to be kissing her in the moonlit garden while the rest of the household slept, her silk gown rustling against my simple day dress, her fingers tangled in my hair like she'd die if she let go. If you've ever loved someone in secret, if you've ever hidden your heart behind a smile and proper manners, this story is for you. Stay with me, because what happened after that kiss changed both our lives forever. My name is Charlotte Webb, and before I became Lady Rosalind Thornbury's companion, I was nobody. The daughter of a country vicar who died leaving debts instead of inheritance. I'd spent my 20s working as a governess in various households, always temporary, always invisible. By the time I turned 30 in 1897, I'd accepted that marriage wasn't in my future. I had no dowry, no connections, and, if I'm honest, no interest in becoming some man's property. When I saw the advertisement for a lady's companion in the Times, I applied immediately. The position offered room and board at Thornbury House in Mayfair, a generous salary, and the promise of travel when Lord Thornbury's diplomatic duties required his wife's accompaniment. It seemed like salvation, a chance at stability after years of moving from house to house, family to family, never quite belonging anywhere. I met Lady Rosalind on a gray Tuesday in March. She received me in her private sitting room, a beautiful space decorated in shades of cream and rose, with tall windows overlooking the garden. She was 28, though she seemed younger somehow, with auburn hair piled elegantly atop her head and eyes the color of storm clouds. She wore a lavender afternoon dress that must have cost more than I'd earned in a year, but it was her smile that struck me most. It was sad somehow, like she'd forgotten how to make it reach her eyes. "Miss Webb," she said, gesturing for me to sit. "Thank you for coming. I'll be frank with you. My husband travels extensively for the Foreign Office, and I find myself alone for months at a time. My mother-in-law believes it's unseemly for me to be without female companionship, and frankly, I'm desperate for intelligent conversation. Can you provide that?" "I can, my lady. I'm well-read, I speak French and passable Italian, and have opinions on most subjects, though I know when to keep them to myself." She laughed, and for a moment, her whole face transformed. "I'm not sure I want you to keep them to yourself. I'm drowning in people who only tell me what they think I want to hear. It would be refreshing to have someone speak honestly for once." I got the position that afternoon and moved into Thornbury House 3 days later. My room was on the second floor, small but comfortable, with a view of the same garden I'd glimpsed from Lady Rosalind's sitting room. The household staff was polite but distant, as always happens with companions who exist in the strange space between servant and family. Those first weeks, Lady Rosalind and I established our routine. We'd breakfast together in the morning room, then spend the afternoon reading aloud to each other, walking in Hyde Park, or visiting museums and galleries. She was remarkably intelligent, with strong opinions about politics and art that she'd clearly been suppressing in mixed company. With me, she felt free to be herself, and I watched her slowly come alive. Lord Thornbury was a ghost in his own home, appearing for a week here and there before disappearing again to Vienna or Constantinople, or wherever the British Empire needed him. He was polite to me in the distant way aristocrats are polite to hired help, and he seemed genuinely fond of his wife, though in an abstract way, like she was a valuable painting he owned but rarely looked at. I tried not to judge their marriage. Marriages among the nobility were about alliances and property, not love. Everyone knew that. But watching Rosalind's face when she spoke about her life, I saw the loneliness she tried to hide, the yearning for something more than her gilded cage. We became friends first. Real friends, not just employer and employee. She started calling me Charlotte instead of Miss Webb. I started forgetting to address her properly, just calling her Rosalind when we were alone. We'd stay up late talking about books and dreams, about the lives we might have lived if we'd been born men with freedom to choose our paths. "I wanted to be a writer," Rosalind confessed one night as we sat in her sitting room, rain pattering against the windows. "I filled notebooks with stories when I was young. Adventures about women who sailed ships and explored distant lands. My mother found them when I was 16 and burned every one. Said they were unwomanly. That I needed to focus on becoming a proper wife. Did you stop writing? I asked. No, I just got better at hiding it. She smiled sadly. I have 3 completed novels hidden in a locked trunk in my dressing room. No one knows they exist except you now. May I read them? Her eyes widened. You'd want to? Very much. She brought me the first manuscript the next day, a thrilling tale about a female archaeologist in Egypt. I read it in 2 nights, completely captivated. It was brilliant, full of wit and intelligence and a deep longing for freedom that broke my heart. This should be published, I told her when I returned it. It's better than half the novels being printed today. Charlotte, you know that's impossible. No reputable publisher would take work from a woman, especially not a woman of my position. It would be a scandal. Then publish under a man's name. Use a pseudonym. And what would I tell my husband? My mother-in-law? This is exactly the sort of thing they married me off to prevent. I meant to be ornamental, not ambitious. The anger in her voice matched the anger I'd felt my entire life, the rage of being a woman with a mind in a world that only valued our bodies and our obedience. I took her hand without thinking. Then let's find a way. Let's submit it under a false name. I'll help you. We'll use my address, say I'm the author's sister or agent. What harm could it do to try? She looked at our joined hands, and something shifted in her expression. You'd do that for me? I'd do anything for you. The words came out before I could stop them, heavy with a meaning I hadn't intended to reveal. Rosalind's breath caught. Her fingers tightened around mine. Charlotte, I'm sorry, my lady. That was inappropriate of me. I overstepped. No. She moved closer on the settee, so close I could smell her perfume, roses and something darker, more complex. You didn't overstep. You said something I've been afraid to acknowledge. Charlotte, you're the only person in my life who sees me. The only person who cares about what I want, what I feel. When you're with me, I feel alive. When you're not, I'm just going through motions, playing a role. My heart was hammering. What are you saying? I'm saying that somewhere between March and now, you stopped being my companion and became the most important person in my world. I'm saying that when I look at you, I feel things I've never felt for anyone, certainly not for my husband. I'm saying I think about you constantly, and I don't know what to do with all these feelings. I should have been professional. I should have created distance. Instead, I cupped her face with my free hand and said, I feel it too. I'm in love with you, Rosalind. I've tried not to be, tried to tell myself it's impossible and wrong and dangerous, but I can't stop. Every day I love you more. Show me, she whispered. I kissed her then, gently at first, giving her every opportunity to pull away. She didn't. She kissed me back with a hunger that took my breath away, her arms wrapping around my neck, her body pressing against mine. When we finally separated, both breathing hard, she said, I've never kissed anyone like that before. Not even on my wedding night. I didn't know it could feel like that. Neither did I. That became our secret. During the day, we maintained perfect propriety. Lady Rosalind and Miss Webb, the lady and her companion. But at night, when the household slept, we'd meet in her sitting room or my bedroom, stealing hours together, learning each other's bodies and hearts with desperate intensity. We knew it was dangerous. If we were discovered, I'd be dismissed without references, unemployable, possibly arrested. Rosalind would be ruined socially, possibly divorced and left penniless, her reputation destroyed. But the risk made us careful, not cold. We loved each other fiercely, knowing every moment together was borrowed time. Lord Thornbury returned home in July, planning to stay through September before his next assignment. Rosalind and I could barely look at each other during dinners, terrified our feelings would be visible on our faces. At night, we couldn't meet, couldn't touch, couldn't even speak privately without raising suspicion. The separation was torture. I'd catch her looking at me across the room with such longing it hurt. I'd find excuses to brush past her in doorways, desperate for even that brief contact. 3 weeks into Lord Thornbury's residence, Rosalind sent me a note via her lady's maid. Tonight. The garden. Midnight. I need to see you. I knew it was reckless. The household didn't fully sleep until 1, and the garden had clear sightlines from several bedroom windows, but I couldn't refuse her. I'd have walked through fire if she asked. I crept down the servants' stairs at midnight, my heart in my throat. The garden was dark except for moonlight filtering through the trees. I found Rosalind waiting beneath the wisteria arbor at the garden's far corner, partially hidden from the house by tall hedges. I couldn't bear it anymore, she said when I reached her. 3 weeks of seeing you every day and not being able to touch you, to speak to you properly. It's been torture, Charlotte. For me too. I took her hands. But this is dangerous. If anyone sees us ... I don't care. She pulled me closer. Let them see. I'm tired of hiding. I am tired of pretending my life with him is enough when you re the one I want to wake up next to every morning. Rosalind, you're not thinking clearly. The scandal would destroy you. Then let it destroy me. At least I'd be free. At least I'd have a chance at real happiness instead of this gilded prison. She was crying now, tears streaming down her face in the moonlight. I love you, Charlotte. I love you so much it terrifies me. And I can't keep living this lie. That's when I kissed her, right there in the open garden. It was reckless and beautiful and felt like flying and falling simultaneously. She kissed me back with everything she had, and for that moment, nothing else existed except us. Lady Thornbury. The sharp voice cut through the darkness like a knife. We sprang apart to find Lord Thornbury's mother, the Dowager Lady Thornbury, standing at the garden entrance with a lamp in her hand and fury on her face. Behind her, I could see other members of the household gathering, drawn by her cry. What is the meaning of this disgraceful display? She demanded, her voice carrying across the garden. Rosalind stepped in front of me protectively. Mother Thornbury, please, let me explain ... There is nothing to explain. I saw quite enough. That woman is dismissed immediately. Pack your things, Miss Webb, and be gone before sunrise. I'll not have such perversion under this roof. No. Rosalind's voice rang out strong and clear. Charlotte stays, or I leave with her. Don't be ridiculous. You're married. You have duties, position, reputation to consider. I have a life to consider. Rosalind shot back. A life I've wasted playing the role you and my parents assigned me. Well, I'm done. I want a divorce. The shocked gasps from the gathered household members echoed through the garden. Divorce was scandalous enough among the aristocracy. Divorce for this reason was unthinkable. Lord Thornbury himself appeared then, hastily dressed, his face a mask of confusion and growing horror. Rosalind, what's happening here? She turned to face her husband with her head high. I'm in love with Charlotte, and I want my freedom. I'll accept any settlement terms you offer, move anywhere you require, but I will not stay in this marriage another day. What followed was chaos. The Dowager demanding I be arrested. Lord Thornbury surprisingly calm, asking everyone to disperse and deal with this privately. Rosalind refusing to back down or apologize. By dawn I'd packed my meager belongings. Lord Thornbury summoned me to his study before I could leave. Miss Webb, my wife has made her position quite clear. I won't pretend to understand it, but I'm pragmatic enough to recognize when a situation is beyond salvaging. He pulled out a bank draft and wrote on it. This should be enough to secure you lodgings and employment references, though you understand I cannot provide those through official channels. My lord, I never meant to cause such disruption to your household. Strangely, I believe you. And stranger still, I'm not entirely sorry this happened. Rosalind has been unhappy for years. I told myself it didn't matter, that duty and position were enough. Perhaps they're not. He handed me the draft. She'd be staying with her aunt in Bath while we sort out the legal complications. This address is included. I suspect she want to see you. I left Thornbury House that morning with my few possessions and that precious address. 3 days later, I arrived in Bath to find Rosalind waiting for me at a modest townhouse her aunt had agreed to let her use. You came, she breathed when she opened the door. Did you think I wouldn't? She pulled me inside and into her arms. I was afraid you'd decide I wasn't worth the scandal and the risk. You're worth everything, I said. But Rosalind, you've lost so much. Your position, your marriage, probably your family's support. What if you come to regret this? I could never regret choosing love over duty. Charlotte, for the first time in my life, I'm free. Free to write under my own name, free to love who I choose, free to be myself. Yes, there will be scandal and judgment and difficulties. But we'll face them together. We did face them. The divorce took 2 years and cost Rosalind most of her settlement and all of her social standing. Her family disowned her. Former friends crossed the street to avoid her. But through it all, we had each other. We opened a small bookshop in Bath, living modestly above it. Rosalind published her novels under a male pseudonym, and they became quite successful. We told people we were cousins, business partners, friends sharing expenses. Some people suspected the truth, but most were content with the polite fiction. We've been together now for 5 years. We'll never be legally recognized. We'll always have to be somewhat careful. But we wake up next to each other every morning, work side by side every day, and fall asleep in each other's arms every night. That kiss in the garden cost us everything society said we should value, and it gave us everything that actually matters. If you've ever had to choose between who you are and who society expects you to be, share your story in the comments. You're not alone. And if you're still hiding, still afraid to reach for what you really want, I hope our story gives you courage. Subscribe to hear more stories about women who dared to love freely, because next time, I'll share what happened when Rosalind's first novel was nominated for a major literary prize, and she had to decide whether to reveal herself as the author. Our story didn't end in that garden. It was only beginning.